we are about to check out the 8th video of this section. So far we have completed to implement our model class as well as database helper class. So now it is time to connect our database to our user interface and see our application in action. Well, this video will be a pretty long video because I am going to complete my application and make it completely functional. So at any point of time, if you face any difficulty, then please get the source code from the GitHub. So here within my application for the nodelist.dart file, let us first import all the packages. So make sure you have all of these imports in your file. And also for the nodedetail.dart file, let us do the same thing. Now let us come to our nodelist.dart and complete our code. Firstly, here I will get the singleton instance of my database helper class. And then I will declare node list, which will be used to display all the nodes within our list view. And then define the integer count, which will be initially 0. And now let us instantiate our node list object within our build function here. Well, I think I have done some mistake. I have to put all of these code here within my node list state. This will make more sense. So if the node list is initially null, then simply instantiate it. And now if you look at our list item, then you will notice our leading icon has some color based on the priority. Red for the high priority and yellow for the lower priority. So down below within our node list class, let us define some helper function. So here I will define the two helper function. The first one will be to return the priority color based on the priority. So this function takes integer priority as a parameter, and using the switch case statement I am simply returning the color based on the priority. And now let us write the similar function that will return the priority icon. For example, we have different icons based on the priority. So here I will write a function that will again take integer priority as a parameter, and based on the priority it will return the icons like this. Perfect. Let us move a step ahead. Also in the list view, if you notice, we have the delete icon. So on click of delete icon, we have to delete this list item from the database. So what we can do, we can just create a one more function and call it delete. So this is my delete function that accepts the node which you want to delete. So here I will write code to delete my node. So I will use the database helper class dot delete node method. Now this delete node method is a method which we have defined here within our database helper class in the previous video, remember? So now once you get the result, I will display a notification to the user by using a snack bar. And once the node is deleted, I will simply write code in future to update my list view. So down below here, first let us declare a function to display a snack bar. Looks perfect. Let us use all of these functions such as delete, then get priority icon and get priority color, and call them from our list view. So here within our leading icon, let us set the background color based on the priority. So I will call get priority color and pass the parameter as the node priority. Perfect. Similarly, let us update the icon. Perfect. Let us update our title. Also update the subtitle, which will be our date. Looks great. Now for the trailing icon, currently we have the delete icon. So we have to implement the onTap event handler on our delete icon. But we have some problem. That is, you cannot simply implement the onTap attribute or the handler on your icon widget. So what is the solution for that? So in Flutter, we have a special widget of gesture detector. So I will simply wrap this icon within our gesture detector widget. And here define the child, and as a child I will put this icon. And in the end give a comma. Perfect. And now you can implement the onTap event handler on this icon and call the delete function. Pass the context for the snack bar and also pass the node which you want to delete. Looks great. So in Flutter, just remember, whenever you want to implement the onTap event handler on any widget, so in that case, simply wrap the widget within gesture detector widget and you are good to go. Now currently our note list is actually empty, which you can find it here. It is currently empty, right? So we have to write some code in order to get the note list from our database. So currently within our database helper class, we have a helper method that will help you to fetch all the note objects from the database. But here is the twist. From the database, we are actually getting the map list. We are not getting the note list object. So for that, down below, let us write another helper function here. So this function will first get the list of map from the database and then convert it to the note list object. So here first I will get the map list from the database, and then I will count the number of map entries that we just fetched from the database table, and then I will just create an empty list of note. And finally I will write a for loop to copy all the map list objects into our note list, and finally return our note list. Looks perfect. So now we can call this function from our notelist.dart file. So for that I will write a function here and call it update list view. So down below I will just create this function. So first I will get the singleton instance of our database. So once you get the instance of the database, then execute the then function. There we can get the list of nodes. So here we are using the same function that we just defined within our database helper class, this function getNoteList. Thereafter we have to use the then function, where you can update your UI by using the setState function. Just update the note list and also update the number of objects. Looks perfect. And now we can also call this function when we are actually deleting a note from the list view. For example, here, just call update list view. As simple as that. Our next step will be to implement the navigation. That is, if the user click on this list item, then you have to send a note object to your node detail page so that the user can edit it here. And also when the user click on this floating action button, then he should be able to create a new node object. So for that, let us modify the code of this function and add a note here, and then pass this node object to the node detail page. Later on I will modify this constructor, but for now let us first modify the function call, which we have here within the floating action button. I will pass the blank node object. For the title it will be blank. The second parameter is the date, which will be blank again, and the third parameter will be our priority, which I will give by default as 2. Now similarly update this function within the onTap event handler of our list view. So here again pass the node object, which is actually getting clicked. So I will use this dot note list at a particular position which was tapped by the user. As simple as that. And now it is time to update our node detail constructor within our node detail.dart file. So here what we can do, update this constructor, create a field, and also make this app bar title as final. And now pass this node object to the node detail state, and also update the constructor of the state here. Perfect. So now we have almost completed the coding within our nodelist.dart file. It is time to code in our nodedetail.dart file. That is, complete the functionality of this page. So within this file, again within our detail state, let us define the singleton instance of our database helper. And now when we pass some data to our node detail page, then we have to display the node title as well as node description to the user. So for that, within my node detail state, within my build function, I will just type. So using these two controller, I have simply updated my two text field. Perfect. Now let us come to our drop down button. For the drop down button, if you notice, for the user it is a string, that is high and low string values. But in context of our database, our priority is basically the integer value. Fine. So we have to write a function so that we can convert this integer priority to the string value and vice versa. So down below here within my nodeDetail class, let us define two functions. The first function will be used to convert the string priority in the form of integer value for saving it to the database. So this function will simply set the priority to the node object. And now our next function will be opposite of what we have just defined. That is, convert the integer priority to the string priority and display it to the user in the drop-down. This will again take the integer value and convert it into the string priority, that is, to high and low. Perfect. And now let us call these two functions from the drop-down button. So here, this is my drop-down button. So as a value here, instead of using just low, let us update the value. Get priority as string. Perfect. And now when we call the setState function, let us update the value here by calling update priority as integer value, so that we can convert the value selected by the user, which is the string value, into the integer value, which is compatible with our database table. Perfect. So now we are done with our drop down button. Now let us come to our text field. I will write some code down below here. That is the helper functions to update the title and also update the description. So the purpose of these two functions is to update our node object with whatever the user has entered within these two text fields. As simple as that. Let us call these two functions from the respective text field. For the title, within the onChanged event handler, let us call update title. Similarly, for the description, within the onChanged event handler, let us call update description. As simple as that. So this completes our code for the two text fields. Now comes the two buttons. The first one will be the save button. So down below here again, write a function to save data to the database, which will be again the asynchronous method, of course. Now while saving data to the database, we will be having two cases. The first case will be for the update operation. So in case the node ID is not null, we will perform the update operation. Now suppose the user has pressed the floating action button and navigated to the detail page. So in that case, we will perform the insert operation. Quite logical and simple. So here I will use database helper dot update and pass node as a parameter. Perfect. Now this function update node has been defined within our database helper class, which we saw earlier. Similarly, I will now call the insert function. Now in both the case, we will get some result, with the help of which we can check if our operation was successful or not. So down below here, I will check if our result was a success or a failure. If the result is not 0, then of course it is a success. If it is 0, then in that case it is a failure. So accordingly, let us call a function to display a alert dialog. Now let us create this function here to display the dialog. Well, it is the same code to display the alert dialog which we saw in the previous section. Nothing too new here. And I think I have done some typo mistake, copy it and paste it here and also here. Perfect. Now in any ways, when we save our data to the database, we have to navigate back to our old page, that is note list page. So I will call here move to last screen function. Perfect. And here we have missed something. We also have to add the date to the note object when the note was actually updated or inserted. So I will use note.date equal to use the date format. Well, the date format class belongs to our Intel package, and I will format it as the current date and time. We are now done with this function. Now let us call this save function when the user click on this save button. So let us move to the raised button, such as here, call the save function. And now our next step will be to implement the functionality for our delete button. So again, down below, let us define another function of delete, which will be again async, of course. Here again we will have two cases. The first case will be if the user is trying to delete the new node. That is, he has come to the detail page by pressing the floating action button of the note list page. And in the case 2, user is trying to delete the node which already has a valid ID. So for both the case, let us write some code. For the first case, we just have to first check. If it is null, then the user is trying to delete a new node. Display him a message that no node was deleted, and then do not execute the code further. Now let us write the code for case 2. For that I will use await, use the database helper, and call the delete node function present within our database helper class, and pass the node ID. In return, we will get the result that will help us to check if the operation was successful or not. So accordingly, I will now show the alert dialog. If it is a success, then node was deleted successfully, else some error occurred. Perfect. And in any ways, we have to navigate back to our last screen. So I will now use move to last screen. Okay, so now let us call this function from our delete button here. We are now pretty done with our application. Just that when the user performs some save or delete operation, we also have to update our UI within our first screen, that is update the list view. So in that case, I will again pass some value from this function of pop. Now the function of pop accepts the second parameter as well. Suppose if I pass true here, then the true value will be passed to our note list page from where our navigation began, right? And suppose if you pass here 23, then the value of 23 will be passed to the last screen. But right now I will use true here. And within our note list.dart, what I will do when I am navigating to my node detail page, so here I will simply use the await keyword and make this function as async. So here we are simply awaiting the response from the node detail page. So as a result, I will get the Boolean result. And in case if the result is true, then in that case we have to update our list view. Anyways, our result is always true. Call update list view. Perfect. Feeling confused? Let me talk about it. This true will be passed back to our note list page, which will be received here. Now in case if the result is true, then we are simply going to update our list view. Fine. Okay, so we are now pretty done with our application. Let us launch our application and let's see if everything is fine. So our application is now up and running. Let us start creating a new node. So by default our priority is low. Let us make it as high and then add some title, meet arrow, some description, save it. And now here we have got a dialog, node saved successfully. And in our note list page I have got my note. Let us add one more note with the priority as low. Save it. And there we go, we have got our second note. Now if you notice, our list items are arranged automatically based on the priority. Similarly, if you add one more node with priority high, then in that case, the new node appeared just above the lower priority node here. Fine. Now let us try to delete some node. Delete this. And yes, the node was deleted successfully. If you want to delete your node from here, it is again working perfectly fine with a snack bar being displayed in the bottom. Delete it again. Perfect, snack bar. Let us now test our update operation. Save it and then try to update it, such as test update new. Save it. So our item was updated successfully as well. So in this way our application is working perfectly fine. So congratulations on successfully creating your own NodeKeeper application. Now in the next